This movie attempts to breathe cinematic life into the beloved 2015 PlayStation game. However, it stumbles into a quagmire of tired horror tropes and squandered potential. What could have been a thrilling adaptation of the game's interactive, choice-driven narrative instead feels like a soulless retread of Groundhog Day, mashed with a generic slasher flick, leaving both gamers and horror fans exasperated. The film follows Clover and her forgettable friends, Max, Nina, Megan, and Abel, as they search for Clover's missing sister, Melanie, in the eerie Glore Valley. Trapped in a time loop, they're hunted by a parade of uninspired horrors, from masked slashers to predictable jump-scare creatures, forced to relive their gruesome deaths until they survive until dawn. Sound familiar? It should, but this movie does little to distinguish itself from the countless horror films it mimics. The game's signature butterfly effect mechanic, where player choices shape the story, is reduced to a gimmicky plot device that feels more like an afterthought than a narrative cornerstone. Director David F. Sandberg, returning to horror after his DC superhero ventures, fails to recapture the tension of his earlier works like Lights Out. The scares are telegraphed, relying on overused jump scares and gore that, while occasionally visceral, lacks creativity. The film's editing is equally clumsy, with repetitive scenes of the group bickering or wandering aimlessly, draining any momentum. The cast, burdened by a lackluster script, struggles to elevate their one-dimensional characters. Clover's grief is thinly sketched, and her friends are little more than archetypes destined for the slaughter. Even Peter Stormare's reprisal of Dr. Hill, a highlight from the game, feels wasted in a role that's more caricature than menacing. Attempts at humor, like snarky quips about horror tropes, fall flat, lacking the wit of films like Happy Death Day, which this movie clearly aspires to emulate. Visually, the film has moments of competence, with the cinematography crafting a grim atmosphere. Yet, the production can't mask the narrative's shortcomings. By diverging from the game's story, this movie discards what made the source material compelling, opting for a derivative plot that feels like a haunted house ride, briefly amusing but ultimately forgettable. At 103 minutes, it drags, with a resolution so predictable it's almost insulting. For fans of the game, this adaptation is a betrayal, stripping away the interactive depth that made the game special. For horror enthusiasts, it's a stale rehash of better films. Sandberg's return to the genre is a misstep, proving that not every video game needs a cinematic counterpart, especially one this uninspired. Overall, this movie is a bloody but brainless horror flop that fails to capture the game's intrigue or deliver genuine scares. It's not worth to watch this in theaters. Just wait on your streaming service.